There are mornings when I look into the mirror and no longer recognize my own gaze. My body feels slower. My memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. Even the face in the mirror feels like a stranger's. Have you ever felt that way? After a certain age, we start losing things we once thought would last forever. Health, work, roles in the family, slowly slipping away. And then one day in the middle of a familiar home, you find yourself feeling lost. No longer the center of anything. The seat at the dining table that used to be mine now often stays empty. It's just getting older. But then I realized something. It's not aging that knocks me down. It's the thought that I no longer matter that really takes my breath away. During those quiet days of stillness, I began learning how to live again. Not to become like before, but to live peacefully with who I am now. From fatigue, I learned kindness. From loneliness, I learned how to check in with myself. And in that journey, I discovered 5 lessons. Small, but enough to get me back on my feet. Enough to stop blaming myself. Enough to realize that every morning I wake up is a reward. If any part of this resonates with you, feel free to hit like to save it and subscribe to continue this journey with me. Because maybe we need the same things more than we realize. Let's begin this together. 5 lessons for those who are aging, but not letting age defeat them. The first lesson I learned, and also the hardest, accepting that I've changed, but that doesn't mean I'm less. Have you ever paused just because standing up and sitting down isn't as easy as it once was? It's not pain, it's just slower. And that slowness makes you take a step back and then look at yourself and softly sigh, I've changed. After 60, there comes a moment that everyone will face, the moment when we're no longer the strongest version of ourselves. Our walk slows down, our face has wrinkles, our hands sometimes forget what they're holding. And deep inside, we start remembering the old me, the one who was fast, healthy, and could do a million things without breaking a sweat. But you know what? It's the comparison with the old me that really hurts. Not because I'm weak, but because I haven't yet learned how to be strong in a new way. A study from Stanford University shows that older adults often handle emotions better, empathize more deeply, and are less affected by short-term stress than younger people. The brain doesn't decline, it's simply changing roles. From warrior to observer, from burden bearer to mentor. Mr. Jerry, 72, was once a mechanic. After retiring, he distanced himself from family, stayed inside more, feeling like he was unnecessary. But one afternoon, his grandchild asked, "Grandpa, how do I fix this?" Holding a toy car with a broken wheel. He sat down, made a few adjustments. The child looked at him as if he were a superhero. And at that moment, he said, I felt alive again, not because I'm still strong, but because I'm still useful. Old age doesn't take anything away. It just changes the name of what you once did. From busy person to trusted one. From fast runner to guide. And if you keep chasing the old version of yourself, the old physique, the old role, the old speed, it's like trying to fit into a shirt that's too tight. It's uncomfortable, and it's no longer you. Peace begins the moment you stop asking, why am I not like before? And start asking, who am I in today's version? Because you haven't lost anything. You're just living a new chapter. You just haven't learned to embrace it yet. And to learn that again, you don't need anything grand. Just every morning, instead of looking in the mirror to see what's different, look for something to be grateful for because you're still alive today. A ray of sunlight, a favorite old song, a message you'll send to someone you haven't heard from in a while. Write it down or say it aloud, the things that remind you you're still alive, still connecting with others, even if it's slower, gentler, but deeper. And when you begin to look at yourself with kinder eyes, you'll also start to care more about what keeps you steady. Not youth, but health. But this time, it's about taking care of yourself, not because anyone reminded you to. Have you ever thought, if you were to faint in the bathroom, who would be the first to know? Since that day, I've been going out less. I call fewer people. I tell fewer stories. It's not because I'm angry or because I want to be alone. It's just, I don't know where I stand in life anymore. Maybe to others it seems like a small thing, a missed call, a forgotten invitation, a seat that no longer has my name on it. But for older adults, these small things are like little stones quietly dismantling the bridge that connects them to the world. Until one day, that bridge collapses without warning, and you're left on this side looking across to the other shore where life moves on without needing you anymore. The most isolating part is realizing that the world is still speaking, still moving forward, but it no longer speaks the language I once understood. I remember the day I realized I was still in the room, still hearing laughter and conversation, but my mind felt like it had been left behind the door that closed long ago. The world around me still moves, still hums with noise, still full of activity. But now nothing speaks the language I once knew. I remember being at my grandchild's birthday party, the whole room filled with laughter. But I sat there among my children, among relatives, feeling like I was on the other side of a glass. They talked about things like TikTok, vibe, cancel, and laughed at jokes they understood just by looking at each other. And I didn't get it. And worse, I didn't even feel the need to get it anymore. Not because I was angry, but because I was tired. Tired of trying to keep up. Tired of forced laughter. Tired of asking the same questions, but still not truly connecting. Even when my child explained, "It's the new trend," you wouldn't understand. That sentence drew an invisible line between them and me. A study by AARP found that most elderly people don't engage in social activities, not because they're too shy, but because they no longer feel they belong to the language and culture around them. Mrs. Marcia, 79, from Austin, shared that she tried joining a yoga class for older adults, but on the first day, the young instructor spoke too fast using slang and mobile apps. She said, "I sat there and felt like I was at an airport in a foreign country, unable to understand the signs, not knowing where to go." So she quit, even though she still had the energy, even though her heart still wanted to try on. If you've ever felt this way, I want you to know you're not strange, outdated, or weak. You're just living in a world where your inner voice isn't being heard in the right way. And don't leave just yet, because in the next part, we'll touch on something even more subtle, yet something that may quiet your heart. When no one asks about you anymore, and you start to withdraw your own story. Over time, I no longer actively engage in conversations. Not because I have nothing to say, but because I've gotten used to the feeling that no one truly wants to listen. And from that small silence, I slowly became silent altogether. During dinner, there's only the sound of spoons clinking against bowls. No one asks anything. No one waits for an answer. The TV is still on, but no one is really watching. Only the kitchen light, yellow and still, illuminates someone sitting there, but no longer being called by name. At first, I still told stories. I still tried to talk. But over time, I started to realize, when people ask, "How are you, Andes?" it's just out of politeness. They don't really listen, and they don't have time to listen. Once, I was talking about how my knee hurts when it's about to rain, and my grandchild interrupted. "Hold on, let me send this message first, and then we'll talk." I sat and waited. When it was done, no one remembered where I left off. Gradually, I stopped talking. Then I stopped starting conversations. Then I stopped hoping. The strange sadness, no one did anything wrong, but I felt like I was fading away. A study from Boston University found that older adults reduce their communication by up to 60% if they feel their family members are only listening out of obligation. And when communication disappears, the risk of depression and cognitive decline can nearly double. Not because they no longer have something to say, but because they no longer feel heard in a genuine way. I remember Mrs. Ruth, 84 years old, from Seattle. She said, "Every time I say something, my children respond, 'Mom, you are thinking too much.' Now, I only talk to the plants in the garden. They don't answer, but they don't ignore me either." That sentence, light as it sounds, pierced my heart. If you've ever found yourself speaking less, not because you have nothing to share, but because no one really wants to listen, then perhaps it's time to start speaking again. but in a different way. Speak to yourself first. Write a line every day. Say something aloud when you look into the mirror. Call an old friend, not to share everything, but to ask one kind question. Are you doing okay? Because when no one else asks, you still have the right to share. And your voice still deserves to be heard. Even if it's just to remind yourself, I'm still here. I still have something to offer. There was a time when I didn't just feel quiet about being unheard. I started to fear how others saw me, no longer waiting for trust, but instead seeing pity in their eyes. It felt like I was only there to be pitied, not needed anymore. I'd rather sit alone than be pitied in a crowd. Sounds extreme, right? But if you've ever found yourself at a family gathering, sitting at the far end of the table next to a plant pot, you'd understand. No one is doing anything wrong. Everyone's happy. But your presence feels like part of the decoration. A relative leans over and asks, "Can you eat this?" in a tone like speaking to a child. Your grandchild says, "Let me get food for you, Grandpa." You stay seated. You smile, out of politeness. Not because it really brings you joy. I don't need anyone to serve me. I just want to still have a role, to feel valuable, to have purpose. But then I started withdrawing. I turned down invitations before they were even offered. "Let's do it next time. I'll stay home to rest. It's probably too crowded. I won't be comfortable." The truth is, I was avoiding that look that everyone thought was kind, but that only made me feel small. A study from the University of Michigan shows that older adults who feel they're no longer valuable in others' eyes are twice as likely to suffer from depression, even when living in a family setting. I remember Mr. Walter, 81 years old, a former chief engineer in New York. After retirement, he lived alone. The last time he attended a family gathering, his grandchild interrupted him while he was telling a story. "Grandpa, talk slower. I need to watch this video first." After that, he never went again, but he always sent a card, handwritten, with each word carefully chosen. He never gave a reason, never blamed anyone. He just chose to disappear kindly. People often think if someone doesn't show up, it's because they weren't invited. But sometimes they stay away because they don't want to become someone who is pitied just for the sake of it. Everyone needs love, but the right kind of love is the kind that doesn't make us feel smaller. Because at a certain age, people aren't afraid of loneliness. What they fear is being remembered with a look of pity. If you've made it this far, maybe part of this story feels familiar. If you've been silent for so long that you've even forgotten the sound of your own voice. We don't withdraw because we don't want to live with others. We withdraw because we've tried, but we no longer have the strength, no longer the words, no longer people who truly listen. And when no one notices we're quietly becoming silent, we choose to retreat within, softly, but also painfully. But I believe, if we're still sensitive enough to recognize we're withdrawing, then we still have a small light inside, a place where we still want to belong, to connect, to be seen for who we really are. Not as a cute old person everyone feels sorry for. We don't have to open our hearts wide. We just need to start with something small. Send a greeting, call an old friend, write a few lines in a notebook, or leave a few words below this video. I read every comment because sometimes something you write might be exactly what someone needs to hear so they don't give up another day. And who knows, someone reading it might feel a little less lonely. If you think someone else might need this, feel free to send them this video or click like to save it for yourself. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, subscribe so we can meet again next time. And if one day you find yourself withdrawing a little more, I hope you remember that you still have value and you still deserve to step out in your own way, slowly, but with dignity.